Hey there, I'm Tommy Baggins, and got a different sort of video for you today. And while we're at it, take the opportunity. This is probably the only chance you're ever going to get to see my socks. And appearances notwithstanding, I am not, in fact, sponsored by Cabela's. And this is where I bought the socks. They put their logo on there. But then again, if they want to sponsor me, by all means, they're welcome to. Actually, scrap that. I'm an amateur. I love being an amateur. I don't get paid for any of this. Started doing this during the whole lockdown thing, quarantine with COVID-19, as just something to do, and found I enjoyed it. Kept at it. And anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, different sort of video for you today. Let's get my feet out of the way. This big plastic tub, bin, box, made of plastic, Tupperware, whatever the heck this is. I store in here a collection of little knickknacks. And I thought I'd show them to you. And share some of the stories behind them of why I've kept them. I have a couple of collections, actually. Got a bottle collection. Got a collection of stuffed animals from when I was a kid. And some newer. But those are for other videos. Maybe I'll do a part 2 and part 3 to this. In the meantime, let's open this. Alright. Now, let's get the big, seemingly boring one out of the way first. Cardboard box. Ah, come on, you. Jeez, piece of thing. I just call this a piece of thing. That's me. That's what I get for doing this stuff in one take. But this, as you might be able to see, is a Vegemedic. Now, for those of you who don't know, this was maybe one of the first sort of infomercial pieces of junk they used to sell on TV. Basically, vegetable slicer. Put the vegetable in here and slam that down, and they got little pieces. So, I love how they made some effort to make it look kind of electronic and futuristic, even though there's nothing electronic or futuristic about it. So why I have this? This used to belong to my grandmother. Not sure if she ever actually used it or not, but I have no idea. I'll have to ask. But let's just say she was the type to not throw things away. She wasn't a hoarder, but she was old enough to have lived through, the Great Depression and whatnot, and just, people of her generation didn't waste anything. So, even if, whether she used it or not, she would have kept it. And after she died, that's the question of, why do I have it? It actually, after she died, and we were going through all her stuff, cleaning up, and one of my brothers actually took this home. And then, a year or two later, he actually gave this to me for Christmas. And I loved it. It was sort of like a little time traveler. It was almost like a little present for my grandmother from beyond the grave. I don't know if that sounds weird. Yeah, but anyway. That's why I have this. It's kind of sentimental and nice story behind it. Moving on. Now, this in a Ziploc bag. Apparently used to be a cigar box. No idea if it's worth anything or not. Broken. But inside we have a small collection of pocket knives. You know what? I just realized I don't know if I'd have any chance of monetizing this video at this point, even if I wasn't an amateur. But never mind that. You know, these are sort of antique-y. Oh God. Believe it or not, I actually got this from a former employer who had apparently inherited them from, for the life of me, I can't remember who or where, but, she had no use for them and gave them to me. So they're kind of neat. I mean, look at this thing. It's kind of, I don't know if it's really coming through. There we go. Kind of gothic. Yeah. Look at this thing. I mean, whew. I mean, that's like if Count Dracula had a Swiss Army knife. Okay, pocket knife. These aren't Swiss Army knives. It's a more broader variety. But this is like the kind of thing that Count Dracula would have. Anyway, they're just kind of... just look at this tiny thing. Anyway. I don't use these. They're just, neat little pieces of history. Oh, this one's kind of interesting. Hold on. Blade on each side. And, yeah, I gotta love this one. It's perfectly balanced. As all things should be. Sorry, couldn't resist. Had to throw that one in there. Yeah, this one's kind of unique. It's like a little blade coming out of each side instead of everything coming out of the same side. Just oddball. Alright. Moving on. Yeah, I don't know if the YouTube would ever let me monetize this video with Swiss Army knives in there, since YouTube considers Swiss Army knives to be weapons of mass destruction. Alright. Now here, we have I don't know if you can see them. Used to have these rubber banded together, but the rubber band eventually broke. Get out. Garbage Pail Kids. I got a whole mess of them. Yeah. And just like, yeah, oh, definitely Halloween. Yeah. I kept all these for some whatever forsaken reason. Broken rubber band, which I still have. That's going in the trash. These were all the rage back in like the 80s. And I made a few larger ones. And yeah, I checked on the collector's market and whatnot, and like eBay and whatnot, and see what these things were worth. And last I checked, not much. And the only ones that were actually worth anything would be like the first generation ones, which I don't have any of. So I also have a couple of Pokemon cards in here. My nieces actually gave these to me. Gotta love them. Never actually played Pokemon. I'll have to rectify that at some point. And of course, check it out. One of my favorite Pixar movies. And lo and behold, oh yeah, the sun's going down. Check it out, check it out. When's the last time you saw one of these? Yep. It's a VCR cassette. God, it's from back in the day. Love these things. I mean, don't get me wrong, these were actually terrible for playing, recording and playing back, but the modern digital stuff is so much better. But sometimes I'm nostalgic about VCRs. They were sort of mechanical. They were sort of clunky and loud, and the cassettes actually had this weird smell to them when they were warm. And as a kid, I kind of liked. And I have a particular attachment to this film in particular because at the time this movie came out, about Bug's Life from Pixar, when Pixar was still new, I was actually working in a movie theater at the time. And got to see that movie, early showing of that movie. Those days they would do test runs of the movie to make sure they had it set up properly. And always be after hours in like the middle of the freaking night. Be like typically like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And it was great. But, so, I was one of I guess I was one of the first people outside of the studio to actually see that film. Bit of a privilege. So, I have sort of a nostalgic attachment to that particular film and that VHS tape. Now, oh yeah, this, the ant. Now, if you've seen any of my other videos, you might recognize this particular ant. It's appeared in one of my other videos. This is literally just wood and metal. Actually, believe it or not, I got this from the same person who gave me that box of Swiss Army knives. And underneath, I don't know if you can read that. I don't really. I don't make that. Freddie Acuna, Costa Rica, Aguas Zapatas, something. Aguas Zapatas, I guess, is water ant. So, this is. Some artist made this, and ended up with me. Got this years ago and still have it. Neat little piece of artwork. I'm sorry, I tend to be going a little high on these things. Because partly I'm trying to show you all this stuff while keeping my face out of the frame. I'm trying not to get too much of myself into the picture. Because I swore I would never show my face on YouTube. And I'm not doing it. Now, T-shirt. And you're thinking, what the heck is this? Another one of my nieces, my older niece, who's now in college, did this. Yeah, June 15, 2008. You're the best, Uncle Tom. Yay. Yeah. On the back, little yin yang. My niece actually did, I think she did a couple of these for various people. Now, yeah, June 15th, 2008. What's this? Oh. Yin and the yang. Yeah. He actually... Yeah, June 15th, 2008. Kind of a interesting date. I don't know if I ever mentioned, I've actually hiked the Appalachian Trail in sections, from 2001 to 2008. Every summer I'd go out into the mountains for a couple of weeks and hike a couple 100 miles. And after, 7 or 8 years, made it to the end. And that was when my niece made that. She was a lot younger then. She was a little kid. Now she's in college. How time flies. Anyway. Yeah. So, that's a little memento from that. And speaking of which, here's a pair of sweatpants. Ugly green sweatpants with a white stain on them. Why in the heck I kept this? These are actually the pants that I wore when I was backpacking through Maine on that last leg of the Appalachian Trail. I know, this of all things. Well, long story, I cannot stand uncomfortable clothes. May have mentioned I have a touch of Asperger syndrome, These days they're calling it high functioning autism. I think Asperger syndrome is such a better name. I love that. Such a fabulous word. But anyway, never mind. The idea is that these were the most comfortable pants I had. And I go on a backpacking trip. I'm basically wearing the same clothes all the time. So if the clothing is at all uncomfortable, I'm going to go nuts. And I don't want to go nuts out in the woods somewhere. So, carrying on with the Appalachian Trail, we have this bandana, quite unimpressive, ordinary red, little bandana, kind of worn, a little bit busted up, but this bandana is actually very special to me. Because when I went backpack on the Appalachian Trail over the course of several years, I gradually placed all of my equipment, everything I was carrying, from the backpack on down, just sort of tinkering with different arrangements, trying to get things lighter and better and happier. Everything got replaced 2 or 3 times over the course of things, except for this bandana. This is the one thing that I had with me every step of the way. Had this on Springer Mountain in Georgia, had this on Mount Katahdin in Maine, had it with me every step of the way in between. So, this is just a fantastic little souvenir. The bandana itself is perfectly ordinary. It's just the story behind it that's interesting. So, here you have it. Actually, one of my brothers hiked up Mount Katahdin with me. Got a photograph of me sitting in front of the big ugly sign they have on the summit. And I've got this, bandana draped over the top of it, the sign. So, yeah, definitely keeping this thing. Love it. Moving on. Oh boy. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry to say it. Yes. That is Jar Jar Binks. And I apparently am one of those weird people who actually liked Jar Jar Binks. Seems like everyone else hated him. Not me. So I get this. But this, I don't know why. I don't even know. It was just for fun years ago. Still have it. Yay. Anyway. Alright, I'll get him out of your face. Now, of all the daft things to collect, a lamp. And I don't even have the lamp shade. Because at one point I had a light bulb in here that was way too high wattage for the lamp, and basically essentially broiled the lampshade. So that went in the trash. But the lamp I've had for years and years and years, and it's a nice little lamp. Haven't used it in ages, but I've grown fond of it. Probably ought to give it to the Goodwill. Actually, come to think of it, there's nothing probably about it. I should find a home for this thing. But I haven't, because I like it. Oh boy, this. I think my nephew gave this to me years ago. Oh, he used to be a fan of Naruto. Got this for my birthday. Going on here. There we go. It's one of those splits into two. You launch this thing into the air. Splits into two in midair. Very loosely based on something they actually used once in the series. So, okay, what? I still have it. Okay. Now, we get into the interesting stuff. Let me see here. Okay. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Yeah, years ago, when that show first came out, bought a bunch of the figures. Well, not a bunch of them, a handful. Figuring they might be worth something someday, years down the road. They're not. And that plus my nephew and niece, brought them out, showed them to them, and I kept them in the boxes so they'd be worth more, but they, of course, tore them open, started playing with them. But, alright, like, no big loss. They're never worth that much. At least they got played with. Now, I don't know, should I show this to you? Okay. $1 bill. Looks like an ordinary $1 bill, except it's not. I don't know if you can see it or not, but that is actually a silver certificate. Used to be able to exchange money for silver, and then they stopped doing that. Now, this is one of the older dollars, and I have no idea whether you could actually take this to the bank and exchange it for $1 worth of silver. And same thing, this was a gift. I think one of my uncles gave this to me. A $5 silver certificate. Can't really tell the difference too much. I think that's what it is. Hold on. Where are my glasses? Okay, no, I'm not. Hold on. Oh, yeah. $1 in silver payable to the bearer on demand. Cool. Not sure, embarrassingly. $2 bill. They don't print these anymore. Got a couple of them. And Check this out. I bought these on eBay ages ago. You know, these are, or were, Iraqi dinarises. I don't know how to pronounce the plural. And yes, that is a portrait of Saddam Hussein, who has since been deposed and is now long since dead. And let's say deposed and killed. But when, you know, when he's, this was after, oh God, I forget exactly when I got these. I think it was shortly after his regime collapsed, and for some strange reason I thought these would be collector's items. No, I don't know. I don't know about collector's items, but conversation pieces, little pieces of history, you know. Yeah, you know what? So I was saying, whatever else you might think of him, seems the guy liked horses. Put them on his money. So that's something. Of course, he also had his own portrait on the money. So, you know, jeez. Anyway. Now, interestingly enough, I think there's a depiction of the Tower of Babel, also known as the Tower of Babylon, which Babylon, as I understand, is now known as Baghdad, which is the capital of Iraq. So, I just thought that was interesting. Another $2 bill. No big deal. All right. What is next? Okay. Ah, yes. This. We have here. I'd gotten into juggling and whatnot at some point. And so what we have here is the Flying Apparatus catalog from, yeah, there was a group called Klutz Press or Klutz Enterprises or some such thing. Anyway, yeah, sold all kinds of weirdness in here. Cal t-shirt, Cal boxing shorts. Books on magic, and they had yo-yos and juggling stuff, and you know, you get the idea. And I kept all these because I enjoy collecting them. And at this point, I kind of enjoy looking back through them every once in a while. here's another memento from my childhood. It actually was a coin bank. And yeah, it was Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal. These were the mascots of that, and somehow I got this from them. As a dead batter, I used to play a little tune every time you brought a coin in. Another thing I probably should have thrown out ages ago, never did. Boomerang, supposedly from New Zealand or some part of Australia. Huh. I don't know if you can see that, made in Australia. Yeah. Let me see. A Jabiru boomerang crafted from Australian native timber, made in Australia. Anyway, had this for years. And see, I don't know if you can see, damaged slightly. Because when my nephew and niece were little, I decided this had sat around for years, and I finally decided it was time to get this thing out and send it for a spin. And we played around with it for a bit, and we crashed it and cracked it, but which is a shame, but makes for a great story, and that's what counts. All right, bunch of coins. There we go. Bicentennial quarter. Is it a bicentennial quarter? Yeah. Made in 1976. There we got silver dollar, which actually is awesome. I love this coin. You know, it's just heavier than every other coin. And like, real money, regular coins just feel like game tokens compared to this. And speaking of which, speaking of game tokens, here's Dwight D. Eisenhower $1. Is this a $1 coin? What is this? Yeah. $1. Cool. I don't think they print these anymore. In fact, if I tried to spend this, I doubt they'd know what to do with it. Got a bunch of other coins. Canadian. Bunch of wheat pennies. If I had a better camera, you'd be able to see it more clearly. Little token from apparently the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago, Illinois. Trying to remember where I got this, so I've never been to Chicago. Where is it? Oh. Yeah. $50. Just a regular $50. They don't print these anymore. It's hard to get anymore. It's the only one I've ever had. And here's an interesting coin. 2 types of metal. What kind of coin is that? apparently $2 coin from Canada. Nose cone from a rocket that I launched many, many years ago. The nose cone is all that's left. Not even sure why I still have the nose cone. Anyway, here we have movie tickets. They're ticket stubs from various movies that I've been to. And I think maybe the oldest one I have in here, this one. For The Wizard of Oz, not the original, from 1939. I'm not quite that old. This is from a re-release in 1995. And if I remember correctly, they sort of re-edited the film for the release, tried to clean things up, make it better, and they made something of a mess of it. But it was an interesting experience nonetheless. You know, on films, everything is made from like 3 colors, and I think that's how they used to do it. They used to have like 3 rolls of film, one for each of the primary colors. And there were times in that re-release when it was like there's 3 main colors didn't line up quite right. Kind of hard to describe, but you'd see like see 3 images, each one a different color. And bought a chocolate frog from the Harry Potter universe. I don't quite see it. There's Harry Potter. And a little hologram thing, supposedly. Looking into the mirror of Erised. So. What else do I have in here? Oh, yeah. Little news clipping from when Gary Larson retired. Here you have it. Yeah, I like the Far Side cartoon. As I recall, it was a bit controversial. Some people hated it. And I seem to remember, for a while, at least in the newspaper I got, at least my family got at the time, the Far Side was actually on a different page in the newspaper than the rest of the comics. So that it was sort of a compromise, so that people who didn't want to read it didn't have to. Those who did want to read it, such as myself, could seek it out. Oh, a little bit of Star Wars stuff. Commerce Bank. It's now called TD Bank. And before everyone panics, it's an outdated card. So even if you can manage to get the number off there, it won't do any good. Another memento from the year or so that I spent working at a movie theater. And yes, that is what Anakin Skywalker looked like originally, before what's his name, and all the prequels. Not that I've got anything against him. That's what it looked like originally. I have history. Anyway, moving on. Appalachian Trail Patch. Never attached to anything. Hold on. Hold on, you know what? Appalachian Trail Conference. It's not called the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. So a bit of a collector's item. Another memento from my childhood. Bunch of old Dinosaur Flashcards. Pictures in the front. Information in the back. All terribly outdated. A little action shot of some kind of critter. Please. Little Tricodon. And yeah, these were made back in the days when a lot of theropods stood as though they were Godzilla. It's almost like nobody could believe that a two-legged animal would stand in any way other than quasi-humanoid. Yeah, here's our good old Diplodocus here, with his neck straight up like a giraffe. I think these days they mostly picture this guy as more headed outward, nibbling on grass. Little Stegosaurus, so I think it hasn't changed too much. Anyway, I won't bore you with the rest of those. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Okay, this guy. Brontosaurus. And then it was called Brontosaurus, and they stopped calling it Brontosaurus. Became Apatosaurus. And I'm going to have to look this up. I don't know for sure. I think I heard that Brontosaurus is making a comeback. The thing, you're returning it to its original name, which I think is cool. Oh, yeah. Tyrannosaurus in the rather old-fashioned Godzilla stance, as opposed to the more, emu sort of stance that they usually portray it as today. So, yeah, when were these made? I don't know. I could probably scan one of these in and do an image search. I think I will. Little bit from when I went to, can you see this? There's a house called Falling Water, designed by somebody, some famous architect for some other famous rich dude. I can't remember either of their names right now. Now we have probably going to turn out on camera. I need to get a better camera. That is Figment, the purple dragon from Disney World. Yay. Weirdly, everyone's favorite little purple dragon who appears in Epcot and nowhere else, who you'd think would be a terribly obscure character that no one's ever heard of, and yet everybody loves this little purple dragon, including me. And I will say, the one time I went to Disney World many years ago now, the little attraction that included Figment was closed for renovations, so I didn't get to see Figment. Very disappointed. I love Figment anyway. There's another gift that somebody gave me. One of those just fancy compass. Never used it. Still have it. And here we have, I won't even bring them all out. Here's all the Power Rangers stuff. Look at all, you know. And that's what's left of them. And more Figment. I love Figment. Oh no. Another model rocket engine. This one apparently has gotten broken while in storage. Oh. But, yeah, I was into model rockets for a while. I launched this one, and it got stuck in a tree, and it was up there for a couple of years. And finally, you know, it was sort of like the parachute string. I caught up on a branch. It was a couple of years before this came down. By that time, the rest of the rocket was made of cardboard and whatnot. It had just gone to trash. You know, it was all that survived. And apparently it's disintegrated since then. So, not the end of the world, I guess. And finally I have these. Deteriorated a bit. 4-leaf clover, and if you can believe it, a 5-leaf clover. Yes, such things exist. Ow. Ugh. Okay. It's like a twisted version of Christmas, isn't it? Except that instead of new presents, it's old junk. This. Yep. This, these are for, it's almost like welder goggles. For, you can stare directly at the sun with these and not hurt your eyes. Supposedly blocks out like 99.9% of light and 100% of ultraviolet and whatnot for watching eclipses and whatnot. I bought this years ago for the Venus transit that was coming at the time. Bought a bunch of them, gave them away. And then I went outside, waited for the Venus transit, and a few minutes before the transit started, bunch of clouds came over the sun and stayed there. And I cursed my luck and went inside and watched it on TV. And speaking of the far side, There's a calendar. 1990, 1991, and fun part about it is 1991 was the year that I went down at 2:30 p.m. every day, wrote down the temperature, and calculated the average. So, and I still have that. For the life of me, I can't remember now what it came out to. A bunch of old newspapers. And, of all things, I don't know if I should even bring this out. Kind of rather fragile. Oh, come on. We have the comics page. I'm going to unfold this. From March 23rd, 1986. We got Peanuts, Garfield. Ooh. I got the horrible. All kinds of other comics I haven't seen in ages. Anyway. Yeah. The Sunday Comics from 1986. Long story behind that. Used to have a fish tank, and once a month we would clean the fish tank and would always put some newspaper underneath it. And one time, well, I guess it was March 23rd, 1986. Happened to be a Sunday, and happened to have the Sunday Comics on hand. Put that under my aquarium. A month later, when it was time to clean my aquarium again, I pulled that out and thought, month-old Sunday Comics. You know, that's interesting. You know, in those days we'd throw the newspapers out or recycle them or whatever. So it was like the oldest Sunday Comics I'd ever seen. Even a month old. Now they're, God, how many decades has it been? You know, I'm not going to count. That little Sunday Comics is a treasure of mine. So, you know what, that's it. That's all I've got in there. And this video is going on longer than I expected. So, and this is hands down the longest and most intense video I've ever done. And I would like to remind you, I am not sponsored by Cabela's. If they want to sponsor me, I will consider their offer. Probably turn them down. I like being an amateur. But that's negotiable. So, alright. Got a little timer on my videos. I've just crossed over an hour. And you know what? I'm worn out. And if you've watched this video all the way to the end, yay. yeah, I'm done. Thanks for watching. Doodles.